The turkey carved beautifully under Dad's practiced knife, but his commentary cut deeper than the blade as he delivered his annual Thanksgiving lecture about real careers versus internet nonsense. "The problem with your generation, Marcus," he said, gesturing toward me with the carving fork, "is you think playing on computers counts as work." I set down my wine glass, a 2015 Bordeaux that cost more than his monthly car payment, and watched him perform for our gathered family. At 63, Dad had spent 40 years in manufacturing management, climbing from floor supervisor to plant director through what he considered honest work that produces actual products. "Dad's right," my brother Tyler chimed in from across the dining room table. "Marcus has been building his startup for 3 years now. When are you going to get a real job?" "A real job?" Tyler worked as a regional sales manager for an industrial equipment company, earning $78,000 a year selling conveyor belts and factory machinery to small manufacturers. "I keep telling him," Mom added, refilling gravy boats with practiced efficiency, "there are excellent opportunities in corporate America for someone with his computer science degree." Corporate America. Like Tyler's cubicle at Midstate Industrial, or like Dad's corner office at Patterson Manufacturing, where he managed production schedules and employee conflicts for a company that made plastic components for automotive suppliers. "The thing about internet businesses," Uncle Bob explained to the table with the authority of someone who'd never built anything more complex than a backyard deck, "is they're not based on anything real. No products, no inventory, just ideas floating in cyberspace." Ideas floating in cyberspace. Cloud Tech Solutions, the company I'd built over 3 years, provided cloud infrastructure and cybersecurity services to Fortune 500 companies. Our client list included major banks, healthcare systems, and government agencies that relied on our platforms to protect critical data and maintain operational security. "Remember when everyone thought .com companies were the future?" Dad laughed, warming to his favorite topic. "Most of those businesses collapsed because they weren't built on solid foundations." Solid foundations. Like the manufacturing plant where Dad had spent 4 decades, which had been sold to a private equity firm last year and was currently being moved to Mexico to reduce labor costs. "That's why I've always focused on traditional industries," Tyler added proudly. "Equipment manufacturing, industrial sales. Businesses that will always be necessary." Always necessary. Tyler's company specialized in equipment that was rapidly being replaced by automated systems and robotics. Technologies that Cloud Tech helped implement for forward-thinking manufacturers. "What exactly do you do all day anyway?" Cousin Lisa asked with genuine curiosity. "I mean, if you're not making anything physical, what's the actual work?" "The actual work. Yesterday I'd prevented a cyber attack on a hospital system that could have compromised patient records for 200,000 people. Last week, I designed cloud architecture that allowed a Fortune 100 retailer to process Black Friday sales without system crashes." "He builds websites," Dad explained with obvious exasperation. "Except anyone can build websites now. There are templates, drag-and-drop tools. It's not really specialized work anymore." Specialized work. My team of 47 engineers held advanced degrees in cybersecurity, cloud architecture, and data science. Our clients paid us because our expertise prevented multi-million-dollar security breaches and system failures. "Plus," Uncle Bob added, "internet businesses don't contribute to the real economy. They just move money around without creating actual value." Actual value. Cloud Tech's revenue last year was $43 million. We'd prevented cyber attacks that would have cost our clients a combined $800 million in losses and regulatory fines. The doorbell rang just as Dad began carving the second turkey. Mom looked puzzled. "We weren't expecting additional guests." "I'll get it," I said, standing from the table. Through the front window, I could see a black sedan with corporate plates and a man in an expensive suit checking his phone against our house number. This was going to be interesting. The man at the door introduced himself as David Richardson, Senior Portfolio Manager at Meridian Pension Fund, the same fund that managed Dad's retirement savings from his 40 years at Patterson Manufacturing. "Mr. Chin?" Richardson asked, consulting his tablet. "Marcus Chin of Cloud Tech Solutions?" "That's me." "Excellent. I apologize for arriving unannounced, but we have an urgent situation that requires your immediate attention." Behind me, I could hear the family's conversation continuing at the dinner table. Dad's voice carrying clearly as he explained to someone how internet businesses lacked the permanence of traditional manufacturing. What kind of situation? I asked Richardson, though I had a good idea where this was headed. Sir, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Cloud Tech Solutions represents 51% of our technology sector holdings. Your company's Q4 performance directly impacts 12,000 retirees, including several in your immediate area. 12,000 retirees, including the man currently lecturing my family about the instability of technology businesses. The issue, Richardson continued, is that our quarterly board meeting is Monday, and we need to present your expansion strategy to our institutional investors. Your assistant mentioned you might be available for a brief consultation. My assistant. The same assistant who managed my calendar of meetings with Fortune 500 CTOs and government security officials. Of course, I said. Would you like to come in for a moment? That would be excellent. This won't take long. I led Richardson into our living room, where the sound of family conversation drifted from the dining room. Dad's voice was particularly audible as he explained to Aunt Carol why young people today didn't understand the value of building something tangible. Mr. Chin, Richardson said, opening his tablet, Cloud Tech's revenue growth has been extraordinary. 43 million last year, projected 67 million this year. Your cybersecurity contracts alone represent the strongest performing assets in our portfolio. I appreciate the confidence in our growth trajectory. The board specifically wanted me to discuss your acquisition strategy. We understand you're considering purchasing two competitors, DataShield Security and Secure Cloud Networks. Combined, they'd add approximately 30 million in annual revenue and expand our client base into healthcare and finance sectors. Richardson nodded approvingly. The due diligence reports suggest both companies are undervalued. Your management team believes the acquisitions could be completed within 6 months, assuming regulatory approval and standard closing procedures. From the dining room, I could hear Dad's voice getting louder. The problem with these internet companies is they don't have real assets. No machinery, no inventory, nothing you can actually touch. Richardson glanced toward the sound, then back at his tablet. Sir, would it be possible to schedule a formal presentation for our board? We'd like to feature Cloud Tech's success story as our primary growth case study. Certainly. My assistant can coordinate with your team next week. Excellent. Our retirees will be very pleased to hear about the continued expansion plans. Our retirees, including Dad, whose pension fund was now majority invested in the same internet nonsense he'd been mocking for the past hour. Mr. Chin, Richardson added, I hope you don't mind me saying, but your family should be incredibly proud. Cloud Tech's performance has been the foundation of our portfolio's success. Through the dining room doorway, I could see Dad carving turkey with theatrical precision while explaining to Tyler why manufacturing jobs were more secure than technology careers. They're certainly proud in their own way, I said. Marcus. Mom's voice called from the dining room. Who was at the door? Someone from Dad's pension fund, I replied, leading Richardson toward the family gathering. They wanted to discuss Cloud Tech's performance. The conversation at the table stopped abruptly as Richardson appeared in the doorway, his expensive suit and corporate bearing immediately commanding attention. Good afternoon, Richardson said politely. I apologize for interrupting your holiday meal. Dad set down his carving knife, looking confused. You're from Meridian Pension Fund? That's correct, Mr. Chin. David Richardson, Senior Portfolio Manager. I was just consulting with your son about our technology holdings. Consulting with Marcus? Dad's voice carried a note of bewilderment. Sir. Cloud Tech Solutions represents our largest technology investment. Your son's company accounts for 51% of our portfolio's growth this year. The silence that followed was deafening. Tyler's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Uncle Bob stared at Richardson like he was speaking a foreign language. I'm sorry, Dad said slowly, but I think there's been some confusion. Marcus runs a small internet business. Nothing that would interest a pension fund. Richardson consulted his tablet with professional courtesy. Sir, Cloud Tech Solutions generated $43 million in revenue last year. The company employs 47 people and maintains contracts with 17 Fortune 500 clients. 17 Fortune 500 clients. The number hung in the air like a challenge to every assumption my family had made about internet businesses. But that's impossible, Tyler said. Marcus works from home. He doesn't have employees or offices or... Actually, Richardson interrupted gently, Cloud Tech maintains offices in Seattle, Austin, and Denver. Mr. Chen's cybersecurity division alone protects data systems for 3 major banks and 2 government agencies. 3 major banks. 2 government agencies. Dad's face had gone very pale. The reason I'm here, Richardson continued, is that your son's expansion plans will determine the retirement security for 12,000 people, including yourself, Mr. Chen. Dad looked at me as if seeing me for the first time. Your business, it's real. Real enough to fund your pension for the next 20 years, I said quietly. Richardson smiled professionally. Mr. Chen has built one of the most stable technology companies in our portfolio. His internet business is exactly the kind of solid foundation that ensures comfortable retirements. The irony was perfect. Dad's financial security depended entirely on the useless internet business he'd been mocking. Richardson left after a brief discussion of Cloud Tech's Q1 projections, promising to coordinate the board presentation through my assistant. The Thanksgiving dinner never quite recovered its festive atmosphere. Dad spent the rest of the evening asking increasingly specific questions about cloud computing and cybersecurity, his 40 years of manufacturing experience suddenly seeming less relevant to modern business realities. Why didn't you tell us about the revenue numbers? Mom asked as we cleared dishes. You never asked about revenue. You asked when I was going to get a real job. Tyler remained quiet, apparently reconsidering his assumptions about internet businesses versus industrial equipment sales. 3 weeks later, Cloud Tech announced the acquisition of both DataShield Security and Secure Cloud Networks, expanding our annual revenue to over $90 million. The trade publications called it one of the year's most strategic cybersecurity consolidations. Dad's pension fund sent him a quarterly report highlighting Cloud Tech as their flagship technology holding and primary driver of portfolio growth. He framed the report and hung it in his home office, right next to his 40-year service award from Patterson Manufacturing. 6 months later, I received an invitation to speak at Tyler's company about digital transformation in manufacturing. Apparently, his industrial equipment clients were asking about cloud-based automation systems. I accepted the speaking engagement. Sometimes the best validation comes from the people who doubted you most. Dad still carves turkey every Thanksgiving, but he's stopped lecturing about the instability of internet businesses. His retirement fund won't let him forget who's keeping him financially secure.